So first of all, this is going to be a spoiler-heavy video, so enter if you dare. So as the title describes, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the confusing, the super confusing. So let's start with the good. So let's talk about the character of Tony Stark and Tony's story arc. 11 years ago, we started out with Iron Man, which was widely received as a great success. It was an amazing film and caught all of our attention. Fast forward 11 years, and here we are at Endgame, and a lot has happened. I'm not going to talk about all of that stuff. And now this is where the spoilers come in. Listen, everybody, we all knew that some characters were going to permanently die, and we knew that some of the main characters would, but we didn't know who. After seeing Endgame, I'm actually glad that it was Tony, not because I wanted Tony to die, but to bring a profound completion to his story. And part of that, which confirmed why I feel okay about it, is what Pepper says to him right before he passes away, which is, "You can rest now." That hit me kind of hard because all of the things that he's done and all of the challenges that he's persevered through, all of those things in the earlier movies came rushing to me in that moment. Because past the ego and past the textbook narcissism, Tony was a hero. Not the suit, not his technology, Tony himself. So next, I quickly just want to talk about Hawkeye, Clint, because we didn't see him in Infinity War at all, which many people were confused about, so I'm really glad that this movie actually started out with his story. We got to see what happened to him and where he was and what he was doing when Thanos snapped his fingers. And when it comes to his development, I liked how they had him become Ronin because we saw a darker side of Hawkeye. The next one is kind of a funny one, which is Captain America versus Captain America right after Avengers. The reason why this is funny is because it reminds me of Buzz Lightyear. Remember when Buzz Lightyear meets another Buzz Lightyear and that Buzz Lightyear hasn't realized that he's a toy yet? It's kind of the same situation. Like, our Buzz Lightyear has some self-realization, knows who he is and that he's actually a toy, but this other toy doesn't know that yet, so they have to fight. It was funny, it was amusing, it was a pretty good fight, and it really does also show how much our Captain America, from the timeline we've been following, has grown since then. Now this part is one of those scenes where I wanted to just jump up and cheer, and that's when Captain America starts using Thor's hammer. I'm not even going to attempt the name of the hammer, I can't pronounce it right. But when it starts flying in the air and it comes back and Captain America catches it, and then he starts using it in combination with the shield against Thanos, like 1-2 punching him with both of them, that was awesome. I was pretty riled up at that point. I kept doing this, like this was my move in the theater, like I would do one of these, because I was silently trying to, you know, celebrate. Now this brings me to Doctor Strange's finger. That sounds really weird, I know it does, bear with me. During the final battle, earlier on in the battle, there's a point where Iron Man asks Doctor Strange, is this it? Is this it? Is this the one future that Doctor Strange saw where the Avengers, the good guys, win? Now fast forward a little bit, a lot has happened in this final battle, so now everyone's pretty defeated and Iron Man is about to give up hope. But that's when he looks to Strange, and Strange does this. I don't know if I'm doing this right or if it's in focus, but he does this, basically. Although this might sound silly, this is actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because it's a turning point. Things aren't looking good. The last time Thanos got his hands on the Infinity Stones, we all know what happened. He finally has gotten his hands on them again. And that's why this is a turning point, because if I were one of the Avengers and I saw that happening, I'd be like, oh no. And I'm sure that's how they were all feeling, but when Strange holds out his finger, what he's telling Tony is that this is it. This is the one. Everything that you've done since Infinity War, all of the challenges that you've faced since then lead up to this moment, Tony. Take it. So now let's talk about what I consider the bad. I'm not saying it ruined the movie, but there are things that stuck out to me, as in, I didn't either really like that very much, or I think it didn't work. The first one of these is actually Thor, and what they did with him. It's the last Avengers film, and I was very surprised that I totally understand, like, why they did what they did with him, but I thought that there was going to be a point where we were going to see, I don't know how because of the timing, but maybe using the time machine so that Thor can, like, get back into, like, his best condition. But I guess when it comes to Thor himself, I mean, yes, he is a demigod from Asgard, and he's learned a lot since then, and he wants to go on his own path. I don't know, I just felt like it was a very strange direction to take him in. Now, the next thing that I don't think it was a bad thing, but I think it didn't work, was Captain Marvel. a lot of emphasis was put on the advertisement, the standalone film, and the timing of when that came out, which is literally right before Endgame, and the post-credit scene to Captain Marvel. So, I don't know about you, but I thought that she was going to play a major role in this film. I mean, since Captain Marvel, she's been in outer space, saving a lot of beings on other planets. I thought that they were going to show her wisdom and her character development and like what she's learned, possibly new abilities, I don't know. But instead, she had not a lot of screen time really at all. She was basically not in the movie. And we were given these almost Superman-like overpowered character scenes where they basically have no weakness. And when it comes to the storyline, they pulled what I call a Goku. I know, another obscure reference, but let's face it, in Dragon Ball Z, in many of the storylines, Goku's nowhere to be found, everyone's fighting some evil force, and they're waiting for Goku, and that's basically what they did with Captain Marvel, but that's what happens when you have an overpowered character with little to no weaknesses. You can't really put them in the movie because they would just be too awesome. I mean, look at Justice League. Superman was dead for pretty much half the movie. Okay, now this one is a big one. I understand why they focused on the original core group for Endgame. But when the Vanished finally returned, it was a little anticlimactic. I thought that when that happened, because I kind of knew that that was going to happen, that like I'd be standing and cheering and freaking out and the whole theater would be going crazy, and that is not what happened. And the reason why, there's a specific reason why I think that it was anticlimactic. Because we already knew that they were back. So when they come through Doctor Strange's portal, we already knew they were alive. We were just waiting for them to come, it was inevitable. Like Thanos. Because think about it, after the entire time-traveling sequence, after they've collected all the Infinity Stones and Hulk uses the new gauntlet to snap everyone back into existence, immediately we see Clint's phone going off and it's his wife, so we know that they're back. We actually knew that they were back for a little while before we get to the scene where all of the Vanished Warriors come back. So like when it happened, I was just kind of like, okay. I mean, we kind of knew this already. Alright, so I'm going to be unpopular opinion puffin right now. I know that Falcon Captain America is a thing, but Bucky Captain America is a thing also. And I am kind of confused. I'm not really into the choice that they made. And here's why. When you're reading comic books and you're reading separate storylines, you're not always reading things in chronological order or relating things together the same way a movie tells a story in front of your face and fleshes out these characters. It's not the same thing. And with the MCU, we've seen this relationship that we've been following since Captain America 1. But when the time came, and he went back in time and lived his life, he decided that he would give his shield and the mantle of being Captain America to a guy he knew for less than a decade. And I was a little confused about that. So the first thing that I thought, I'm gonna contradict myself a little bit, but the first thing that I thought was, can you imagine how Bucky felt? It's like, hey, Steve, remember when I used to protect you when you were the small little guy? And then we fought a lot of wars and battles together, and now here we are, living in the future, living in a time that we don't belong in, and then you left the Avengers to save my life? Can I be Captain America? Sorry, Bucky, I'm gonna give it to this guy, someone I really barely know. Nah, but all joking aside, I mean, if you really also think about it, Steve was a superhuman, okay? He had special abilities. You're giving your shield to a dude who doesn't have special abilities. He has wings. Now, there's also a theory, I mean, I'm not gonna go too far into this, but there's a theory that Bucky might have actually already known that he was going to give Sam the mantle of being Captain America, and that's because Bucky seems so okay with it. And right before Captain America goes back into the past to put all of the Infinity Stones away, Captain America says, don't do anything stupid, but Bucky responds to him, you're taking all the stupid with you, or something along those lines. Because it's possible that he already knows that he's going to not stick to the plan and go back to Peggy Carter. Now, there could be a few reasons as to why this happened. Maybe Captain America in that timeline saw Bucky, but that really wouldn't make sense because things that happened in the past, if they're changed, don't change the present, future. This is actually my next topic, which is the confusing. Okay, so there's no point in picking apart every little plot hole when it comes to a movie that has to do with time travel, because we'd literally be here forever. So instead, I'm gonna harp on a specific plot hole that didn't really sit well with me. So in this film, as Hulk suggests, going back in time and altering things in the past doesn't change what we know as the present. They're not going to stick to the same rules of other time-traveling movies. But there's a huge problem there. So now, according to Bruce Banner's conversation with the Sorcerer Supreme, she's explaining to him that the Infinity Stones protect any point in time in the timeline, and if you take one away, like the Time Stone, it creates a splinter reality. And according to Bruce Banner, well, if I just come back and put the stones where they're supposed to be in that point of time, everything is fine. This opens up a really huge can of worms and changes the severity of really any event that ever happens, because technically that means I can go back in time, get what I need for any problem that I have, put the stones back, and it's fine. So to that point, in this plan, they take certain characters from Guardians of the Galaxy like Gamora, Nebula, Thanos, and his entire army from the Guardians of the Galaxy 1 timeline and bring them to Endgame present day. So now the reason why this is kind of weird is because if you can do that, who's to say that we can't just go back right before Tony snaps his fingers and just grab him and bring him to our timeline and not really worry about the consequences in the past? Because that's what they were doing throughout the whole movie. I mean, if you think about it, there is a timeline in the past now where Loki takes the Tesseract. One timeline where the Sorcerer Supreme will not have the Time Stone when Doctor Strange becomes Doctor Strange. And one of the major ones, if Clint took the Soul Stone, that means it's not there for the entire Thanos Gamora scene. Like, basically they did all these things not caring about what happened in the past just to fix this one, because according to Banner, he can just go back in time, put the stones where they have to be, and everything's fine. Well, okay, let's just bring Tony back and then put the stones back. Again, there's probably a ton of time problems and time traveling problems. I'm not gonna go into all of them, but that one kind of didn't really make sense to me. So all of you Marvel lovers out there, that was my take on Endgame, the good, the bad, and the confusing. I might even call it super confusing. I'm sure that many of you have some very strong opinions about the film, and maybe even things that I said. If you agree or disagree, I would love to learn what your opinions are in the comments, because this is definitely, again, 11 years in the making. We're gonna have a discussion. So if you've reached this point in the video and you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I would highly appreciate it. This is the part where I normally say, add me on social media. Now, something really weird happened recently. My Facebook was disabled. My Geek Revelation Facebook was disabled, and I don't think I could get it back, but I'm trying to make it again, but I have to wait a certain period of time. I'm basically being punished, so we'll see. But follow me on Instagram and all the other ones. Also, if you'd like to support, you can either visit my Ko-Fi page and buy me a Ko-Fi or a coffee. I really don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that. Or my web store. Pick up a t-shirt or sticker or something like that. So that's it, everybody. See you again soon. May the power protect you.